Tonight on 7 News, a nervous night on our northern beaches with fires still burning. The race to get Sydney ready for summer after a burn-off went wrong.
Little Charlotte O'Brien's final heartbreaking message to her parents, the devastating reason they've shared her last wish.
A hot mic moment captures the real reason for Anthony Albanese's summit with world leaders.
Swans fans gear up for the biggest grand final ever, from flights to tickets, everything you need to know.
A confusing and controversial rule keeping patrons out of Sydney clubs for 50 years now coming to an end.
And Trent Robinson reveals the secret to the Roosters' success, big hits and plenty of them.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson and Angela Cox.
Good evening. After a long and anxious night for locals on Sydney's northern beaches, firefighters have managed to tame a controlled burn that took on a life of its own.
It's rattled the nerves of many and left lingering questions over what went wrong as firefighters struggled to reduce the bushfire risk before summer.
Pockets of flames all day, keeping firefighters on edge. Water bombing, the best form of attack. Fire trucks watching over homes, including retirement villages. Those residents shaken.
It was very scary. We could hear the crackling of the fire burning.
There's no point in staying in the house when it's full of flames.
After a long night, as fire crews worked to contain the blaze, backburning to protect residential streets.
It could go from this side of the road to this side of the road, like really quickly or really easily. So we're just a bit afraid.
Going to be awake all night, keeping an eye on this, because if we have to get out, we have to get out.
A fire emergency that began with a controlled burn gone wrong. Gusty winds led to escaping embers, fire threatening homes.
And the wind was strong. They should know what they're doing.
But the RFS says this area has 30 years of fuel.
No, I don't think it's unfair. I think that no one is eating themselves up more than the crews.
Fire was close, but crews made sure no structure was lost.
So last night was an example of how good they are.
Today, crews were guarding homes surrounded by bush. Appreciated.
People complaining about this, and it's just ridiculous. Let's grow up.
Crews here now are conducting backburning to make sure this fire is contained. They are being very cautious, though, after yesterday's emergency.
But the window for more hazard reduction is rapidly closing, with the landscape drying dramatically.
Those opportunities to do important burns may just not be there.
The RFS says it won't contain this fire tonight. With favourable weather conditions, that should happen tomorrow. Now, crews are expected to be here in coming days, mopping up after this emergency. Looking ahead, a high fire danger is expected for Wednesday, with rain arriving the following week. Now, the RFS says any future hazard reduction won't occur without extra precautions.
OK, Chris Marr, thank you. The Sydney family of a 12-year-old girl who took her own life has opened up about their unimaginable loss because it was their daughter's final wish.
Charlotte O'Brien's parents have shared the last heartbreaking note she left them about being bullied at school. Tonight they're asking every family to listen and pay attention.
Remembered as a young girl with a big heart.
Hi, I'm going to my Year 6 farewell tonight, and I just want to say thank you all so much for what you said. I have my bag and I'm really excited.
12-year-old Charlotte O'Brien tragically took her own life after bullying at Strathfield Santa Sabina College. Today, her parents bravely shared her final note. I saw little pink writing saying, "Please, Mama, live for Will because I can't anymore." Will was her baby brother, adding the Year 7 student had one wish, that her story about bullying be shared to raise awareness. One day she just burst into tears and she said, "Everybody hates me. I'm a monster. I've got no friends. They're so mean to me. They hate me. They hate me. Everyone's mean to me."
Children are learning their way about how to be part of a tribe, and for that period of time in their lives, it feels the most important thing in the world.
Charlotte's family is now calling on all schools across the state to have a hard conversation about their policy on bullying, claiming their daughter was broken down over years because toxic behaviour was allowed to breed. Her father saying, "I don't care if it's a public school, a private school, independent or Catholic. You have a duty of care for those kids and you have to step in as an adult."
Sometimes the impact on a child can be underestimated. To get any kind of avenue of resources or help that you can is important.
Santa Sabina College told 7 News these matters are always complex and we will work in partnerships with families to support our students. The family are making arrangements to farewell and celebrate Charlotte this week. Amy Clements, 7 News.
And if a young person in your life needs support, they can call the Kids Helpline confidentially and for free on 1800 55 1800.
An apparent hot mic moment has put Joe Biden at odds with the official reason for this weekend's Quad Summit.
The White House had insisted the meeting wasn't about containing China's aggression, a claim quickly undermined by the president's comments to Anthony Albanese.
More than 60 years after he studied here, Joe Biden welcomes Australia's Prime Minister and 2 other key allies to his old Delaware high school. The so-called Quad, India, Japan, the US and Australia, uniting to counter China's bullish push into the Indo-Pacific.
We'll always be better off when like-minded countries and our 4 great democracies work together.
The 4 leaders agreeing to expand maritime surveillance, bring their coast guards closer and create a Quad airlift capacity to tackle regional disasters. Their focus on China's aggression, clear in this comment, the president apparently unaware he was being recorded.
China continues to behave aggressively, testing us all across the region.
And clear too in the meeting's declaration. We are seriously concerned about the situation in the East and South China Seas, about the militarisation and intimidating manoeuvres. As well, President Biden announcing a plan to expand vaccinations against cervical cancer throughout the region.
Today, America, Australia, India and Japan choose to fight. For every patient asking for one more day, one more week, one more year.
The next Quad Summit family photo will be full of new faces. A new US president, new Japanese Prime Minister, and given our election timetable, maybe a new Australian leader. As the Prime Minister left, his host talked up their friendship.
Never goodbye, he's at the end of the telephone, I get me.
And a lengthy last chat before Mr Albanese's long flight home. In Wilmington, Delaware, Tim Lester, 7 News. And an interesting sidelight here to a suggestion that relations between India and Australia might still be strained from a scandal over Indian spying in Australia several years ago. It did appear for much of this meeting that Prime Ministers Albanese and Narendra Modi would not get to sit down together one-on-one, adding to the sense that things are still tense. In fact, the 2 leaders did meet right at the end of the program, and very briefly, but they did get together. Prime Minister Albanese now says relations between India and Australia have never been better.
Tim Lester in Delaware, thank you. A large slice of New South Wales-Queensland's State of Origin rivalry is building for AFL Grand Final Day, with Sydney locked in to play Brisbane on Saturday at the MCG. Let's go live now to Matt Carmichael at the SCG. Matt, north of the Victorian border, it's being billed as the biggest grand final in history.
Well, Fergo, not sure how they're thinking about this in Melbourne or even if we care, but if we couldn't have the All-Sydney Grand Final, this was the next best thing, and maybe a chance for the Swans to channel the spirit of Madge's Blues and continue a pretty disappointing and miserable year for Queensland's footy teams. The SCG is glowing red here tonight. It will become a giant live site on Saturday for what should be the most watched grand final in AFL history. The True Bloods diehards were here showing their love this morning, and that included our own man, Tom Saker.
In flying formation, the last chance for diehard Swannies fans to see their heroes on home turf before another southern migration.
I'm so proud and humble and happy that I'm part of this family.
Most fans here got a head start on tickets to the big dance.
On the phone for 6 hours on hold, and we automatically get tickets.
Others are working on the big sell.
Please, Mum. Stacey, please get a ticket. Stacey, please.
With two non-Victorian teams playing for the first time since 2006, the airlines felt a surge and responded. Qantas, Jetstar and Virgin adding 17 extra flights, priced between $200 and $375. Lucky, our lads relish the big stage.
The crowd there is just second to none too. Hopefully having 100,000 there this week. It's, I guess, what you play footy for, playing at the heart of footy.
It's tipped the so-called AFL outsider states will bring in a massive TV audience too.
Well, with teams from New South Wales and Queensland and also 7+, we're potentially looking at the highest rating grand final of all time.
Well, we all know that the players have lifted on the field, but they all say that when it comes to the support, it's the fans who've gone to the next level.
It's growing in Sydney and we're feeling the support well and truly, and the SCG's been rocking this year.
Can't wait to hear them absolutely, screaming their heads off this weekend at the grand final.
Where Melbourne might be the centre of attention, but from the SCG to the Women's Sydney Derby at Henson Park today, our state has staked its claim as an AFL powerhouse. Just ask the parents of 8-week-old Leo.
He is indirectly named after Leo Barry.
Leo Barry, you star!
It's in the blood. Tom Saker, 7 News.
We have some breaking news now. A van has caught fire and is stopping traffic southwest of Sydney. These are pictures just into the newsroom of the blaze, which has spread to bushland along Picton Road at Wilton tonight. Firefighters are on the scene tackling that fire. There are no reports of injuries at this stage.
More breaking news now, and at least 4 people have been killed in a shooting in Birmingham, Alabama. Police believe there were multiple gunmen who have since fled the area. 2 men and a woman died at the scene, and a 4th victim succumbed to their injuries in hospital. There have been 403 mass shootings in the US so far this year.
The federal government is demanding Peter Dutton come clean on his plans for nuclear power, urging him to use a speech tomorrow to detail how much the policy will cost and what it'll mean for power bills, re-energising the debate as the US plans to reopen a notorious nuclear plant.
3 Mile Island, Pennsylvania, the site of America's worst nuclear accident. A partial meltdown in 1979 destroyed Reactor 2, triggering a radiation leak.
Easily the most serious accident in the licensed reactor program.
The incident left 1 functioning reactor, but it was shut down in 2019 because it wasn't making any money. Now, a major rethink.
It will reopen the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant.
Microsoft agreeing to a 20-year deal to buy the electricity produced by the reactivated plant to power its energy-hungry data centres.
The restart of 3 Mile Island is a huge market signal.
A signal Peter Dutton will tap into tomorrow as he delivers a speech in Sydney making the case for nuclear energy in Australia.
The most advanced countries, the most advanced companies are embracing nuclear energy. It's high time Australia did too.
Peter Dutton's nuclear fantasy is economic insanity.
The government demanding he fill in the blanks in his controversial policy to build reactors on the sites of 7 coal-fired power stations.
He needs to come clean tomorrow in this speech. What will it cost? What will it mean for power bills?
7 News understands Mr Dutton won't be announcing any new policy details during that speech tomorrow, instead using it to reinforce why he thinks it's time for Australia to add nuclear power to our energy mix.
We will release our plan on a timetable of our choosing, not of Jim Chalmers.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
Australian women have added their voices to the chorus of abuse allegations against former Harrods owner Mohammed Al Fayed. Lawyers for the alleged victims say although the billionaire is now dead, anyone who helped him could still face prosecution.
This is the worst case of corporate sexual exploitation of women that I've ever come across.
The allegations stretch over a quarter of a century and span multiple continents. Some experts claim they amount to sex trafficking.
Australians in Lebanon are being told to leave immediately while flights are still available. Israel has launched fresh airstrikes on hundreds of targets in the country's south in one of the heaviest assaults since the Gaza war began. Hezbollah returned fire, blasting around 10 rockets into northern Israel, but most were intercepted. The death toll from an Israeli airstrike, which took apart a building in Beirut less than 24 hours ago, has risen to 37.
One of Australia's largest and arguably toughest rehab centres is now being overwhelmed by demand. The controversial founder of Shalom House says he's struggling to find enough beds to house addicts and others hoping to rebuild their lives. And tonight on Spotlight, we've been given a look inside.
Peter Lyndon James is not your average drug rehab counsellor. For a large part of your life, you're actually a pretty bad man.
I wouldn't say bad, but I've done bad things.
Having been one of Australia's most prolific meth dealers, becoming the head of Australia's biggest rehab service is an unlikely twist of fate. Shalom House is unconventional. It's 160 residents told to surrender everything. So they come to you and they basically give you complete charge over their lives.
That's correct, everything.
That's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, so they sign a power of attorney, which gives us permission to act on their behalf. The second that they choose not to be a part of the program, then that becomes null and void. Everybody works Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. The holistic program is about setting a routine. A lot of them have never worked, they've been on the dole for 20 odd years.
Critics say Shalom uses its residents as slave labour. They claim the rehab program is like a religious cult.
I think Shalom House has elements of cultish type behaviours to it. People are required to shave their heads, they're required to go to church.
I'm more than happy for even yourself, anybody, to come over and pull me apart.
Tonight on Spotlight, we go inside, living with the addicts to find the truth.
I feel like I found the cure for cancer. I just can't get anyone to listen.
And you can watch the full story on 7 News Spotlight tonight at 8:45 right here on 7 and 7+.
There's a new tool for Sydney renters struggling in a market where the odds are stacked against them. The government's launching Rent Check, a website that compares prices across suburbs with the aim of helping people find an affordable home. It promises up-to-date weekly rent data, postcode to postcode, so users won't be duped into paying more than they should. It has been a head-scratching rule for almost 50 years, clubs legally requiring you to become a member even if you live within 5 kilometres.
Now moves are underway to ditch the law to encourage locals to use local clubs. The change is expected later this year.
Red tape that's rather un-Australian.
Being quizzed on the door about exactly where you live, how far you are, as the crow flies from a club.
But for 47 years, it's been the only way to visit a bolo, RSL or local club. If you live within 5 kilometres, you need to become a member and often pay to visit. You can come as a member's guest and in some cases prove membership of another similar venue. People from outside the area need photo ID to register.
It's just out of step with how people live their lives now.
Not a Northern Beaches local, pop star Pink was turfed from the Manly Skiff Club this year when she couldn't produce ID. The rules mostly cause headaches and very soon they'll be abolished across the state.
People who live nearby will be able to go and enjoy the restaurant or the club.
I think it's a great way to encourage people to join in their local community, so I'm all for it.
The government anticipates the legislation will cruise through when put to Parliament.
This is one of the first big changes to the Registered Clubs Act in many years and one that we welcome.
While the new laws won't differentiate between locals and out-of-towners, they will still require all patrons to sign in. Under the Act, clubs are required to record visitors' details, and that is unlikely to change.
It's about reducing friction, loosening up the rules so we can all get back to having some fun.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Time to check the weather now with Grace Fitzgibbon.
Grace, it was another warm one today.
It was gorgeous, Mark and Ange. A nice day to spend on the water if you were lucky. This was the view of the Hawkesbury River today. Calm blue skies and a fresh breeze. 13 was the low in the city at 6 a.m, but by 3 o'clock the temperature had climbed all the way to 27 degrees. Across the state, a high pressure system to the north kept things nice and dry. Tops in the mid to high 20s. 27 was the maximum in Lismore, 22 at Griffith. Fresh and gusty westerlies are picking up in the southeast tonight. Strong on the Alpine peaks, and there's a change in the air. Some rain headed our direction. I'll let you know how much in your detailed forecast shortly.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Sydney's driving habits laid bare, still to come the worst time to hit the road revealed.
A major update from Sydney Trains, what to expect this week.
A shingles vaccine now free for more Australians. How to find out if you're eligible.
Later, a special milestone for a small school in Sydney southwest that's taught 4 generations of the same family.
And inside the luxury homes on our northern beaches where prices are plummeting. Welcome back. It's back to normal on Sydney's rail network after rolling industrial action left commuters up in arms last week. Work bans were introduced by the union, forcing services to be cancelled at short notice and leaving travellers stranded. The T4 and South Coast lines were the worst affected. Those bans have now been lifted and trains are running to a normal weekday timetable. That means the weekend's free train travel is also coming to an end at midnight.
New figures show how Sydney's traffic has undergone some dramatic changes, revealing the impact of work from home and the best and worst times to be on the road. Amy Clements has more.
Despite record car and driver numbers, Sydney University says our traffic is getting less congested. Examples include Centenary Drive, Homebush West. In 2018, it carried 45,000 vehicles in peak hour. This year, 38,000. Pittwater Road, Collaroy from 23,000, now 19. King George's Road, Blakehurst, 22,000 to 18. And it's not just roads. Opal data shows public transport use has fallen by 7 million passengers in 5 years. The reason? Motorways taking pressure off arterial roads and work from home. Latest figures say roughly 1 out of every 5 working hours is not at work. It means Tuesdays are now Sydney's busiest weekday on the roads, Fridays the least congested. The busiest hour, 11 o'clock Saturday mornings when mum and dad taxis are at their peak, getting kids to where they need to be.
Donald Trump has poured cold water on the prospect of another presidential debate. It came only hours after his opponent, Kamala Harris, agreed to a second matchup next month on CNN.
She's done one debate, I've done 2. It's too late to do another. I'd love to in many ways, but it's too late.
He made the comments from behind a protective glass screen at a rally in North Carolina.
Shingles is a debilitating condition that strikes down a third of Australians at some point in their lifetime, and the cost of the vaccine puts it out of reach for many. But now the program is being expanded so those most at risk can get it for free.
26-year-old Therese Hellier suffers from 2 debilitating forms of arthritis.
If I were to develop shingles, it would significantly impact me and my life. My body won't fight it.
The part-time student rolled up her sleeve for the first course of the vaccine today. Doctors had recommended she take it sooner, but at a cost of $560, it had been out of reach. She's among 215,000 Australians living with compromised immunity who've now joined those already eligible for a free jab. Doctors say it's about time.
I had a patient with cancer that developed shingles late in his cancer progression, and he developed florid shingles that wasn't controllable by antivirals, and he was in agony.
The government promises not to have a repeat of the vaccine shortage that happened during the first free rollout.
We have about 500,000 doses right now in Australia, but given the popularity of this program, we've been watching very closely to make sure that we don't get caught again.
Currently, anyone 65 or over is eligible for the free vaccine, but the government hasn't ruled out lowering the age threshold. Patients are encouraged to check with their GP if they're eligible. Jasmine Turlings, 7 News.
A terrifying new level to the war in Ukraine still ahead. What sparked this massive explosion deep in Russian territory?
The new trend bringing top-end burgers to the dinner table.
The incredible story of how a missing child was reunited with his family 7 decades later.
And ahead in sport, a storm brewing in Melbourne. The minor premiers out to keep their stranglehold over the Roosters.
Welcome back. A weak economy and interest rate fears have been hitting Sydney's high-end property market.
On the exclusive northern beaches, the prices of some luxury homes have fallen by millions. But a few owners are still keen to list, with hidden gems now up for grabs.
Perched on secluded acreage, Hollywood Hills style, but this isn't Tinseltown, this is Amaroo.
at just over 5 acres. There's really nothing else like it on the market.
The multi-million-dollar Bayview mansion listed for sale, lavish with landscaped outdoors.
It feels like you're in a luxury hotel.
A few kilometres north on Pacific Road, the prime Palm Beach position. An architect's abode, 5 bedrooms, and in the master you can see all.
The views straight out to Palm Beach, looking out east, straight out to the lifestyle of the swimming pool. That's what you wake up to in the morning. Fabulous.
Both have price guides of more than $13 million. For those looking in the upper end of the market, these homes will always be desirable because of their limited supply. But affordability constraints have taken a toll, affecting prices in the Northern Beaches area. Newport property values have dipped 5% in a year. Bayview has seen a nearly 10% drop. Palm Beach prices are down more than 16%.
The high end of the market is diverging a little from what we're seeing across the city more broadly, and the higher end in particular has been impacted by high interest rates, limited borrowing capacity and weak economic conditions.
Yes, she has gone up and down in value, but Palm Beach is always going to be Palm Beach, and there's always going to be that romantic feeling about it.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
Ukraine has launched 2 separate drone attacks deep inside Russian territory, striking munitions depots in the country's west and south. The blast, captured on camera, prompted mass evacuations. There were no reports of any injuries. Ukraine was reportedly operating on intelligence that a train carrying 2,000 tonnes of munitions, some from North Korea, was making its way to the depot.
This next story beggars belief. A little boy abducted when he was just 6 years old has been found almost 3/4 of a century later. Luis Armando Albino was playing with his brother at a California park in 1951 when a woman kidnapped him and put him up for adoption. His distraught mother never gave up hope of finding him, but she died in 2005. Luis was raised by a couple in New York and lived a full life, only finding out his true identity recently thanks to a niece who tracked him down. He's since been reunited with his brother 73 years later.
Our ongoing cost of living crisis has seen a spike in fake-away dining, restaurant-style meals cooked at home. With new offerings from the major supermarkets, you don't need to be a pro chef to have your burger and eat it too.
The burgers are better at Woolworths, apparently.
We've got 9 beef, 3 chicken, 1 pork.
The newest offering to hit shelves across the country from tomorrow, Woolies reckons they're just as good as anything you'll get in a high-end restaurant. And when a single slider can set you back $20, they're good for the hip pocket too.
We know that we can feed a family of 4 for under $30.
The new burger range, with 13 products from $8 to $10, is embracing the fake-away trend, taking eating in to a new level.
This is great for families that are busy, that are wanting that quick, easy, convenience food, and it's not as expensive as takeaway food.
Coles leaned into this trend last month with a new range of international offerings. And with cafe and restaurant purchases falling by more than $12 million across Australia in recent months, expect more from Woolworths too.
We know that our customers are doing it tough. Nearly 42% of them are struggling to make ends meet.
Helping customers embrace that dining out experience in their own homes.
These fakeaway foods are designed for people who aren't good cooks, who just want that quick, easy meal, that grab from the supermarket, take it home, warm it up and pop it with your favourite sides.
Jacinta Lee, 7 News.
It's the little school celebrating a big birthday. Up next, the incredible history of Camden Public in our southwest, officially one of our state's oldest.
The magic wand device detecting cancer cells, how it works.
And ahead in sport, they are into the big dance. The Swans have some huge selection calls to make. We are live to the SCG.
Two New South Wales MPs have put politics aside to help out the veteran community. The Liberal member for Manly, James Griffin, and Labor's Greg Warren have joined forces for Bravery Trek, raising funds to support those who've served and fallen on hard times.
If you see a Liberal and a Labor MP out there pounding the pavement in our Bravery Trek t-shirts, then please give us a cheer, or even better, log on and make a donation to support the Bravery Trust.
As part of the fundraiser, they'll have to walk, run or swim 250 kilometres in 5 weeks. Hundreds of families in southwest Sydney have gathered this weekend to mark an incredible local milestone.
Camden Public School is officially one of the oldest schools in the country, opening in 1849. Students of all ages reuniting at a party to look back at its remarkable history.
At this Camden fete, a feast of fun, stands of sweets, all smiles. And as locals admired pieces of motoring history, they celebrated one major milestone. Camden Public School has turned 175.
I love that my kids have come here, my mum's come here, as well as my grandma.
It's one of the oldest primary schools in Australia.
Well, it's been a fantastic celebration. It's been a lot of work on part of our staff to get everything ready.
An anniversary recognised by dignitaries.
We've had a lot of big, important people. People from Parliament have sent us messages congratulating us on 175th, and obviously we've had our big assembly down there.
A chance to reflect and remember nostalgia for so many.
Look, that's Mummy. I was in the front row.
Even if some memories aren't quite the fond ones.
It was very cold in the winter and very hot in the summer. We had to drink this warm milk every day, which was awful.
Mr. Parsons, he frightened me. He was the headmaster at the time.
Yes, he frightened me too.
He ruled by an iron fist, that man.
Camden Public School has seen it all, from world wars to natural disasters. And through it all, school spirit has stood the test of time.
It's a really nice school. There's really nice teachers.
I like doing assessments and going to lunch.
Our community, they're always really ready to help our school whenever it's needed.
Angelique Opie, 7 News.
It's a magic wand, but nothing like you've seen before. This one detects cancer as you go, how the Aussie breakthrough works and what it means for patients.
And why a new government could mean cheaper schooners at the pub. Don't miss those stories soon on 7 News.
But now Mel is here with Sport, and Mel, the Roosters and Manly would be pretty sore tonight.
No doubt about it, Fergo. I know you were at the game, Ange. It's been such a monster weekend of footy, finals footy. The intensity of their brutal semi-final battle was something to behold coming up in sport. 2 players gone in the opening 23 seconds as the Tricolours lock in another heavyweight bout with the Storm. And the lizard intruder who felt the need for speed causes qualifying chaos in Singapore.
Hello Sydney, this week on Sunrise, your next holiday is on us.
Every day you could win a getaway to a different destination, from Japan to Fiji to Bali.
Plus megastar Katy Perry live on Sunrise as she arrives down under. Also Miranda Kerr, Kylie Minogue, Dua Lipa and a Brekkie exclusive with Seinfeld's Jason Alexander. Plus the Brownlows Unfiltered.
We're behind the scenes for the footy and the fashion.
Start with Sunrise.
Welcome back, Jared. Waria Hargreaves left Tolu Koula seeing stars just seconds into his return from suspension as the Roosters ran roughshod over Manly at Allianz Stadium. The Tricolours won a brutal battle 40-16 to set up a clash with Melbourne.
Go Storm!
Plenty of purple-clad stormtroopers watched Craig Bellamy put the minor premiers through a relaxed Sunday session. At this time of year, the week off is like gold. Even more so when your prospective opponents beat each other to a pulp.
There's a problem for Tolu Koula.
First play of the game, Tolu Koula was KO'd trying to put a shot on Jared Waria Hargreaves. When play resumed, Lindsay Collins launched at Jake Trebojevic.
Oh, no.
The start was a little bit surreal in some ways, losing Tolu and Jake, the first 2 tackles of the game.
Sometimes with that, you can get yourself in the wrong spots when you're going a bit too crazy and a bit too hard. I really enjoyed the start of the game. I thought the couple of front rowers set the tone from the start.
After the Panthers' mauling, Trent Robinson purposely dialed up the intensity at training.
We trained pretty hard this week, which you don't usually do in semi-finals.
Manly tried valiantly to return serve.
What a hit! Ola Kuatu!
As the brutality continued, Jake was cleared to return, but the fierce opening took too much out of the Sea Eagles. The Roosters struck first and never looked back.
Hoopo back on the inside for Tedesco.
Tedesco scored 2, the Tricolours winning 40-16. The task now to snap a shocking run of 9 losses from their last 10 matches against the Storm.
We're not going to be doing cartwheels, sprouting who we are. We need to make that next week.
Nick Markham, 7 News.
Well, the Storm host the Roosters at Amy Park in the first grand final qualifier on Friday night. Then it is Panthers versus Sharks at Accor Stadium on Saturday night. The Swans began grand final week telling us they truly belong this time, and they are now no demons from the 2022 decider. Live to Maddie Carmichael at the SCG. Maddie, there are two very big selection calls to make.
Yeah, good evening, Mel. Imagine being John Longmire this week. We didn't see Logan McDonald out here at training this morning, but we did spot him back in club headquarters with a pretty bad limp after that rolled ankle. He missed the grand final a couple of years ago, and teammates say they'd be very surprised if this keeps him out of the decider this week. Then there's the luckless captain Callum Mills. He did his hammy at training only a couple of weeks ago. The teammates are also very confident that Callum will be able to get up, but a hammy this close going into a grand final is a very big risk. Now, as for that 22 decider where they were flogged by Geelong by 81 points, players are pretty open today to admitting they weren't mature enough, they weren't quite ready then, but they know this time there's a premiership that is there for the Swans taking.
We've got a lot more experience, and a lot of boys have played a lot of footy together now, which obviously helps us. We're a very close group, everyone's great friends, and I think the experience factor, a lot more games played, can only take us good more said from there, yeah.
Mel, it was really interesting to talk to a lot of the star players from the Swans today. There's this really great, quiet confidence, not cockiness, just confidence. They know that this is their time and they think it might be their time for some time to come. So we'll bring you plenty of that through the week. Huge week coming up with grand final. There'll be a Brownlow function here tomorrow night for them too.
Exciting times indeed. The SCG looking great as well. Thanks, Maddie.
Yeah.
Well, the Swans women had plenty to celebrate as well. In front of a big crowd at Henson Park, they held off a late surge from the Giants to win a nail-biting Sydney derby by just 3 points.
Oh, the Giants go to ground, and the snap from the Swans, Amy Whelan. From one snap to another, it gets better and better in the Sydney derby.
The Swans are up to 9th, a win outside the top 8. The Giants, they are 11th. Alex Carey is still copping it for his infamous stumping of Johnny Bairstow back in England for the first time since that incident in last year's Ashes. Carey was booed before rescuing Australia with a Michael Bevan-like 74 in Australia's 270.
I was aware of it, but no, I think it's business as usual. I was prepared to probably get it today and it happened, so fair play.
Australia bowled England out for 202, winning their 14th game in a row by 68 runs. They lead the 5-game series 2-0. Former Socceroo Tony Popovic is set to be named Graham Arnold's replacement as the coach of the national team in the Premier League. Ange Postecoglou eased some early season pressure at Tottenham after conceding in the first minute against Brentford. Spurs fought back to win 3-1.
The more times when we're in control of the ball, we can play at our tempo. I think it's better, and we're relentless the whole game, and fully deserve the win.
Liverpool are on top of the Premier League table for now after a 3-0 win over Bournemouth. Darwin Núñez scored a stunner with his left foot. The Diamonds blew a golden chance to seal the 3-test series against England at Kudos Bank Arena. Australia led by 2 goals midway through the last quarter, but threw it away, losing 61-59.
Obviously disappointing, but I think the way that we played game 1, we obviously knew England were going to change up a few things and come out really strong.
The deciding test is in Bendigo on Wednesday night. And a rogue reptile brought practice for the Singapore Grand Prix to a grinding halt. The red flag came out. The track invader sending stewards on a wild lizard chase.
Look at that. Look at the pace of that. It's a drag race. Marshall against lizard.
Carlos Sainz put his Ferrari into the wall in qualifying. Daniel Ricciardo set to be axed by Team RB after battling into 16th. Lando Norris is on pole with Oscar Piastri 5th. Could watch that for hours, I think. It's hilarious.
Speed.
How fast is it?
So fast.
Lizard can run.
Can run. Paul Stewart's having a chase after him. Had a good laugh.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
No mention of Manly. An Australian doctor has invented a revolutionary device to detect cancer cells in real time.
The tiny wand magnifies rogue cells, helping detect potentially deadly tumours, sometimes weeks ahead of traditional methods.
Made in Melbourne, a tiny handheld three-dimensional microscope, 1,000 times more powerful than a CT scanner, pinpointing and magnifying individual cells like never before, inside the body in real time.
And that's an ability that currently doctors don't have.
This is a deadly breast cancer tumour, and these dots are the cells that comprise it. Also visible, rogue cells outside the tumour, which are in danger of travelling and lodging elsewhere in the body.
With our technology, we can see tumour cells in real time, and of course we can pick off those cells in real time.
The developers believe the probe has huge potential in other applications, like screening for deadly mouth cancers. The Optiscan clearly identifying healthy, precancerous and cancerous cells.
I think it's mind-blowing. That's what I think.
Traditionally, when surgeons remove tumours, they take surrounding tissue to allow for rogue cells like these. The Optiscan device can check those margins are cancer-free to help doctors avoid follow-up surgeries.
We would be saving lives by seeing remaining cancer cells and catching everything early.
A world-first trial will soon begin here at the Royal Melbourne Hospital. 2 surgeons will test the device on around 50 breast cancer patients.
It's super exciting for us.
A local invention that promises to help fight the enduring battle against cancer. Jackie Quist, 7 News.
The Nationals are hoping the promise of cheaper beer will make them more popular at the ballot box. Business owners are warning they could be forced to lay off staff because the beer tax is too high. Nationals leader David Littleproud is holding talks with industry experts tomorrow. It means driving down the price of a schooner could be a key election issue. Australian beers are among the highest taxed in the world.
Time to check the forecast now with Grace Fitzgibbon.
And Grace, this run of sunshine over.
Yes, brace yourself, Ange. There's a nationwide soaking on the way and we are not immune. I've got your detailed outlook coming up next.
Tonight, 7 News headlines, firefighters rushing to get Sydney bushfire ready ahead of summer.
The parents of Sydney schoolgirl Charlotte O'Brien have revealed her final wish to them.
A hot mic moment has revealed Joe Biden's concerns over China.
And Swans fans are gearing up for the biggest AFL Grand Final in history. Now here's Grace with the latest on Sydney's weather.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasant evening to top off what was an even more pleasant day. Temperatures soared all the way to 27 degrees in the CBD at 3 this afternoon. Right now it's clear and calm outside, still a comfortable 19 degrees. A serving of sunshine for the whole of the Sydney Basin today. Tops of 27 degrees along the coast for Manly, Mascot and Cronulla. Just as warm in Parramatta, while Katoomba missed out on the above average temperatures, a high of just 15 degrees there. Here's a look at the latest satellite map. It's clear now, but over the next few days, a series of cold fronts and troughs will brush New South Wales far south, resulting in a slight drop in temperatures. And we're being warned the entire country is set to be drenched by record-breaking rainfall this week due to a surge in tropical moisture. Heavy rain and storms will hit Western Australia first before spreading into central parts. Here in the east, the showers won't hit until midweek and they won't be as heavy, looking light to moderate at this stage. Here's a look at what's happening around the capitals tomorrow. Sunny in Brisbane with a top of 27. Canberra looking partly cloudy with 22. Cooler in Melbourne, 19 degrees. It's windy in Hobart with a top of 17. And you can see that rain and storm activity is hitting Broome and Port Hedland tomorrow. Still warm though with 29 degrees. Here in New South Wales, dry and mostly sunny. Some increasing high cloud in the west. The chance of a shower on the southern ranges. Some chilly lows in the mix as well. But overall, temperatures are set to remain above average. A warm 29 degrees in Newcastle. Newcastle. Zooming in to take a closer look at Sydney, we will enjoy another day of sunshine. Tops in the high 20s expected along the coast. Fairfield, Liverpool and Bankstown will be a warm 29 degrees. Taking a look on the coast, west to northwesterly winds up to 15 knots, tending northwest to northeasterly in the middle of the day, and a southerly swell of around 1 metre on the water. In Sydney CBD, clear and sunny with a low of 13 degrees for your Monday morning, but warming right up again to 27 degrees. That's the same as we had today. And you best make the most of it because there is all that rain I mentioned. Things changing significantly from Wednesday. Thursday will be the wettest, a moderate 20 mils of rain on the cards in our west, and temperatures won't be anywhere near as warm, dipping below 20 to end the working week. Mark and Ange, the rain, no doubt, very welcome news for our farmers. Farmers will love it. Our Monday looking very good. Gardens will love it. I won't love it so much. I love the sunshine, but we have to have it. Can't have it all. I can't have it all. That is 7 News for this Sunday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening. Sunrise starts from 5:30 tomorrow from all of the 7 News team. Thanks so much for your company. Have a great night. Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.